Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're time traveling way, way back. Long before science, books, or modern tech even existed, we're going to look at how humanity first tried to make sense of the universe. Just imagine stripping away everything you know about physics or biology and looking at the world completely raw, with fresh eyes and a ton of unanswered questions. Put yourself right in the shoes of our ancient ancestors. You're staring up at this vast, wild world without the safety net of modern science. You see this massive, blazing ball of fire cross the sky every single day and then just vanish into the dark. It's totally mind-boggling. So, naturally, you've got to ask, why does the sun rise and set?
Or picture this. You're feeling the very ground beneath you shake with thunder. You see an angry, dark sky crackle with terrifying flashes of lightning. Without meteorologists around to explain high and low pressure systems to you, you're just left standing there in awe, wondering, why do storms happen? It's just the sheer, raw power of nature.
And then, imagine grappling with the absolute biggest mystery of our existence. You're looking around at your tribe, your family, even looking at your own two hands, and asking, where did humans actually come from? Without fossils or evolutionary biology to lean on, this was just a massive, glaring blank space in human understanding. But, they didn't just look up at the sky. They looked deeply inward, too. Imagine closing your eyes at night, living out these vivid, sometimes totally terrifying alternate realities, waking up on the ground and asking what might be the most puzzling question of the whole bunch. Why do we dream? Which brings us to Section 1, the Age of Questions, seeking answers in the unknown. So to tackle these massive, intimidating mysteries, ancient people turned to the most advanced tool they actually had, their imagination. They created myths. These were epic stories specifically crafted to explain the mysteries of life, nature, and the universe. They served as humanity's very first framework for understanding the unknown, basically the original hypotheses of the human race. Moving on to Section 2, the first storytellers, the oral tradition. Now remember, before humanity could write, we had to speak. Long before written words were a thing, people gathered closely around campfires. And that fire? Well, it provided warmth and safety from the dark, sure, but it also provided a stage. People relied entirely on memory and the sheer power of a captivating narrative to pass knowledge down from one generation to the next. Around those fires, they shared absolutely incredible tales. We're talking stories of powerful beings who could control the weather, heroes overcoming impossible odds, terrifying monsters lurking in the shadows, and unexplainable supernatural events. By telling these stories, they literally gave the terrifying, chaotic, unknown a face, a name, and a motive that they could actually wrap their heads around. Next up, Section 3, Written in Clay, the shift to recorded history. So, eventually, these fleeting spoken stories became permanent. The chronological journey of written myths kicked off thousands of years ago in ancient Mesopotamia. Then the tradition moved through ancient Egypt, where myths were heavily used to explain forces of nature, and eventually made its way to ancient Greece, where those complex, larger-than-life myths of gods and heroes truly flourished. To give you a real, concrete example of just how enduring the shift was, thousands of years ago, the Sumerians actually recorded their stories about the creation of the world, their gods, and their heroes directly onto clay tablets. That painstaking effort gave us the Epic of Gilgamesh, and that is literally one of the oldest known literary works in all of human history. Now for Section 4, Gods of Nature, explaining forces through personification. It's fascinating how different civilizations had totally unique approaches to personifying nature, mainly based on their own environments. For instance, ancient Egyptian figures like Ra, Osiris, and Isis really helped people make sense of the heavy, mysterious cycle of life and death. Meanwhile, the ancient Greeks created this vast pantheon, including Zeus, Hercules, and Athena, to explain absolutely everything. We're talking everything from literal thunderstorms in the sky down to the incredibly complex human emotions we all feel every day. And because human curiosity is so universal, these myths naturally traveled. As civilizations spread out, expanded their borders, and traded with one another, their stories intertwined. It was like a giant ancient exchange of ideas. Different societies started creating their own localized versions of tales about creation, heroes, monsters, and the afterlife, cleverly adapting the narratives to perfectly fit their own unique worldview. Finally, let's look at Section 5, the enduring legacy, myths in the modern world. Now, you might be wondering, why do we still care about these old stories when we have modern science?
Well, today science gives us the mechanical, factual answers, right? We know exactly why it rains and how the sun works. But myths were never just simple fairy tales. They were humanity's original pursuit of truth. They were our very first attempts to understand the unknown and give our existence a real, structured narrative.
And because of that, these ancient stories remain incredibly vital to us. I mean, they formed the bedrock for our art and heavily influenced our literature. Honestly, almost every story structure we use today can be traced right back to a myth. They created cultural traditions that we still practice right now, and ultimately they defined the very mechanics of how human beings tell stories to one another.
So ultimately, every scientific discovery, every great piece of literature, and every single movie you love today stems from our ancestors looking up at the sky, sitting around a fire, and asking this one simple, profound question: what is the story behind the world around us? So the next time you look up at the stars or watch a dark storm roll in, ask yourself, how would you explain it all if you were the very first person to ever see it?